She's so deposit.
That's disappointing.
That's all right.
I got a question.
Go with it. Ready when you are.
Yeah, well, first off, working through the questions, I think addresses a lot of stuff, and the proposal's pretty simple. We spent a lot of time working with engineering folks really familiar with Rosine, that has done the King Milling work with Eagle, and we've worked with Eagle. So we know what we're proposing is very doable, very realistic. Before high-end residential condo units. The two in the existing line shack would be larger, and then we developed the vacant property next to it, and there'd be two smaller ones there. And then we would propose, the reason Sue passed around these photos is you've got kind of unique property to the north next to the building there, the building zero lot line where the property is. And we would propose to landscape that and turn that into, I think, what your planner would call a parklet, a small park. And our thought would be some cool artwork there, probably a deck, walkway down to the river, and do a nice job of landscaping that. It's, I think, a classic win-win. It would dress up the neighborhood for our project, and it would be something I think that would be pretty cool for Lowell. And the nice thing about having a private party do that is it happens timely, and it would be just clarified our costs. So I look at our proposal as what our number was plus the cost of doing this.
And you're looking at putting, what, 2, 4, 6?
4.
4.
With parking underneath. So it'd be driving, parking, and then going up.
Okay.
So one of your questions, I think it's question 11, was about parking. So there's 2 parking spaces in front of the part of this property that's not built on. And so we would need those to drive in directly, but that would be the only 2 parking spaces that our project would require. So we wouldn't be adding more pressure onto anything that's there.
Question number 1.
The city's vision of the line shack is to have it restoration, to have a catalyst project on the west side of the Flat River, and thus revitalizing that area. In essence, the city is looking for a unique and dramatic interest for this line shack. Do you believe your firm can provide this and to execute this too?
Yes, absolutely. So I think I probably appreciate more than most that question and satisfying it. Our Riverview Flats project anchors the boardwalk on the other side of the river, and I see this as doing something similar. So it would be a cool project, it would be pretty, but then when you think about the landscaping and our ideas with that, it would be a perfect anchor. And so it would be basically a horseshoe of what's already there, that boardwalk.
Okay.
And the landscaping piece, I envision working with your planner to come up with something that is exciting, cool, and acceptable to the city. So we wouldn't drive that in a vacuum, it would be a team effort.
What are your cost estimates to fully convert the building? Have you completed a preliminary pro forma? And have you completed a project of this nature, and what percentage are you looking to finance?
Cost estimates, probably $1.6 million to $1.8 million. We've done the pro forma. We're not looking for incentives from anybody, and I've done a lot of projects like this. Most recently, one out our backyard here. But condo, conversions in urban areas of Grand Rapids, other communities, 101 units on Cherry Street, Hillmount apartment conversion to condos. Very familiar with this, don't have any concerns. It's a complex project because of the Eagle requirements having to be up out of the floodplain with new construction, but we understand it very well. Already had conversations with them, and Rosine is the local expert, and that's our engineer.
I think you just answered my question. You said you're not looking for any incentives from anyone. So I'm guessing MEDC and the city of Lowell is part of anyone.
Yeah, correct. We're not throwing stuff against the wall, seeing what sticks, and trying to get various groups to buy onto it. This thing pencils out just fine without anybody's help.
Okay, one of the city of Lowell's biggest concern is we sell the property and you don't develop it, or you sell it to somebody else. What are you looking to do besides that?
We don't develop it, put a time frame on it that we gotta deliver by, or the city can buy it back.
Buyback as the original cost or the investment cost?
You know, we'll have spent third money reports, environmental stuff like that. I'd say the purchase price plus transaction costs like that. You know, one of the, I think, gentleman from Copper Rock asked the question, doesn't know whether it's a brownfield or not. I've reviewed the past environmental reports on it, and it would require a BEA, which is the next evolution past a phase 2. So I would expect there's probably going to be about 8 to 10 grand worth of environmental third-party due diligence that needs to be done. But past that, I don't see much transaction costs. And so purchase price plus environmental report, basically.
City of Lowell is looking for tonight with the ability to complete the project and to have a sustainable operation. Please tell us how you will work with the city to assure that you can adequately fund this project and continue to have a sustainable operation.
Well, it's not a business, so it is not a restaurant type thing. It is not a retail thing with a high risk of failure. It is a real estate deal, and it'll be fully funded. As a note, when we did the condo project there, we had our financing in place, and then COVID hit, everything shut down, the world came to whatever it came to at that point, and we lost our financing. And we scrambled, we dug up backyards or whatever, and we pulled it off. So this project here is a fraction of what the size of that was.
What? I was waiting. I was being patient.
Lord, let us get secretaries. Number 6, the city of Lowell is focusing on creating a sense of place for the downtown district by enhancing our natural assets and creating a walkable community. What does this mean to you, and how will you embrace this in your project? Have you previously done projects by enhancing in the area?
So I think the park piece that I mentioned speaks very nicely to the projects. Yeah, Riverview Flats, same thing. We've anchored that end of the boardwalk. When I used to live across the street in 216 Main, I could look straight down Riverside there, and about where the Line Shack building is, the property I'm talking about, landscaping, doing parklet at, it would not be uncommon to see families or people on a nice day to be fishing there. So I kind of look at that as that's already market tested, the interest in something like that. And so I think that would be well received. I mean, it's difficult to fish from there. It's not friendly, it's not pretty, but people are doing it. And so I think that would be a very cool thing and would enhance all the park stuff that Lowell's got going, and particularly downtown.
You thinking like a little dock at the bottom? A boardwalk
Yeah,
type
landing,
of-
yep, exactly.
Would you take that all the way up to the old water intake, the old generation plant? Or would you?
Yeah.
Right to that?
I would go past it, it kind of funnels down and gets really narrow.
Yeah.
Do that whole section.
And eliminate that?
Or incorporate it. I mean, I was looking at it a couple days ago, that's a lot of concrete, there's a lot of steel piling there. I think it'd be probably a better move to figure out how to make that cool and incorporate it than try to get rid of it.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
Are there any legal issues, criminal offenses, warrants, extraditions, or pending legal matters?
No, but I haven't been in the office yet today, so.
That was a lot more questions than you asked these guys. So
Yeah.
I'm getting nervous about where it's
So
going.
that's TBD?
Yeah, I've got as
Just
good as of this
questions.
morning. Yeah, I'm sure Greg's gonna have a problem with that question, so.
If you're selected by the city to purchase and redevelop the site, the city's going to be crafting a mutually agreed upon development agreement. Have you worked with development agreements in the past, and will this be an issue for you with this project?
Yes, very familiar with them, and no, it won't be an issue.
The city of Lowell is a public body and is dealing with a public body. Transparency is the utmost concern. There's a strong possibility that the process moving forward will be highly scrutinized by the public. Is this a concern for your firm, and how do you plan to address this as we move forward?
It's not a concern. How I address it is how you've seen me deal with social media issues in the past on another project. We were professional, just kept our mouth shut, and you let it run. We don't participate in it.
Do you have any questions for us?
None. How many seats should I get at Ripple?
One for sure.
They open on Monday?
You want to just rehash the parking real quick for
Yeah,
question
sure.
number 11?
Yeah, so number 11, parking, what will you do to try to help us with our limited parking?
With the exception of sacrificing the 2 spaces on the street, it would be self-contained. So I don't think we'd add to any parking issues. In fact, you know, if you look at the other proposals, we probably have the least impact of any of them.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. 32.5 hours, that's all.
All right.
You ready to go?
I guess as ready as I'm gonna get.
You want to call about the warrants and stuff?
Yeah.
Before the question comes up?
Hearst
Thank
isn't
you.
here, is he? He isn't gonna drop in on us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I only lost 6, so.
Don't worry about
it. It's fine.
We'll
It's
share,
fine.
we'll share, no big deal.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
I have to ask you a question.
Yeah, we'll let Greg go through it real quick
Yeah.
first.
All right, the Line Shack is a very interesting property. The last time it was up for sale, I was up to here in the Spring Grove building getting that renovated. So didn't put a bid in then, and when it did come up again at the last minute, I looked at it and thought, you know, this would be a great opportunity to expand the Main Street in. We, as you guys have seen, we've been open 11 or 12 years now, and it started out, we were always busy on the weekends and not during the week, and now enough business people have figured out they like staying in Lowell instead of Grand Rapids, so it's not uncommon for us to be full 5 out of 7 nights of the week. So, looking at this, my initial, and I only had a week or so to put this together because kind of snuck up on me, but I went to Dixon Architecture in Ada, who's done the other projects like the Main Street Barbecue, and the Main Street Inn, Spring Grove, and had them put something together for me. Out of the 4 garage doors that are there, 3 of those would go away and 1 would remain. And then there would be rooms up above. Once I realized there was a little bit of dirt to this, to the south, that adds additional opportunity. At the end of the building right now, you could put a stairway in, an elevator, and a little bit of mechanical room behind it. You could make it a 3-story building, put a couple more units to the right. 3 stories high would get you as many as 20 hotel rooms there. There's some feasibility things. Dixon is the same architect that Brent Slagle used on the Serenity Club in the middle of the river, and they engineered those cantilevered beams and stuff to stick out around without any support. So looking at doing that out the back. Have to get a little more engineering to see how feasible it is for, I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver than the other way around, as you guys have run into already on this building. But there's certainly the potential for 5 to 10 rooms by going 2 stories. If we went 3 stories, we'd end up with, like I say, a total of 20 rooms going to the right a little bit. So that's in a nutshell, the proposal.
Question 1, the city's vision for the line shack and its reconstruction will be a catalyst project on the west side of the Platte River, and thus revitalizing the area and enhancing. The city is looking for a unique and dramatic interest for this line shack. Why do you believe that your firm can provide this, and what your firm will do to execute this?
Sure, and this is just an expansion of what has been quite a catalyst, I think, for downtown Lowell. When we opened the Main Street Inn 12 years ago, there was nowhere to stay in Lowell. And when people stay in Lowell to visit friends or on business, whatever they're doing, they're buying gas here at Shell, and they're eating at the restaurants, and they're wandering into the little shops and spending money. And it's been really neat to see how Lowell has grown over the last 10 years. And I think the Main Street Inn was a part of that. And this would be a way to expand that and make it even better.
What are your cost estimates to fully convert the building? Have you completed a preliminary pro forma? Has your firm completed a project of this nature, which I think you answered? And what percentage of this project are you financing?
I'm the opposite of some of the other proposals here. I'm just kind of a seat of the pants guy that gets things done. Owning a plumbing and heating company helps a lot. I can tackle that side of it pretty easily. When guys have a slow day, they go work on Greg's stuff. That helps keep costs down. I see this project running somewhere $750,000 to $1.5 million, maybe even as high as $2 million if we did all 20 units. The handout that I had kind of showed you some of the projects I've done in the past. The first one is actually the Canfield plumbing building. The first picture is 2001 when it was vacant for a long time and the building was boarded up. We'd already taken down the pole barn steel that was on it at that point. But turned that eyesore, which actually somebody came into the historic district and wanted to tear it down. And so I gave them a card and said I know somebody that would buy it. And the rest is history. So 20 years later, we're in what I consider to be almost an iconic building in town. Looks nice. Second picture is, and these may not all be in order. I think the Main Street Inn. That was all closed in with granite on the front of it, and took all the granite out, restored it to what it was back 100 years ago. The Moose Lodge was in there for 98 years. Cliff can probably attest that they weren't the best neighbor with the brawls in the back alley. That was interesting there. In fact, there was no parking lot behind it other than gravel. It was pretty rough back there. There's a little garage. And while we were trying to get that parking lot put together, I actually bought a piece of dirt from Brent Slagle next to the Superior building that I wanted to trade with Lowell granite so that we could get rid of the button factory foundation that was there. That was like a quarter of the parking lot was an eyesore back there sticking out of the ground, 2 or 3 feet of cement. And we actually got down to where some people take longer to make decisions than others, and Lowell Granite just couldn't make a decision on what to do there and wouldn't commit to the parking lot. We were down to the wire, and Dave Pasquale said it's got to happen. And so I went over and talked, said, hey, can you make a decision? No, we're really not ready to. So I said, okay. I went and got my backhoe and parked it on the property line where he couldn't really get his truck out of his building without driving there. He goes, can you move your backhoe so I get my truck out? And I said, better get used to it, because you're going to be dealing with this a long time if we don't make this deal. He swore some F-bombs, and I walked in and went to the meeting across the street, and 20 minutes later, he walked in and made the deal, and we got a nice parking lot, which, sometimes it's got to get a little rough, but it was important to do that. That really made a nice parking lot, getting the whole thing back there instead of that button factory foundation.
I did enjoy that when you tore it up, going down in there, scrounging around. There's a lot of cool things over there.
But the Main Street Inn was the next project. There were 3 little buildings there that the city had condemned, and I actually went and talked. I drove by, didn't realize the owners were going to give up and not save them. And where the dam store was on the east end, they were salvaging the building out, taking doors and windows out and hardwood floor. And I went and talked to the Reedies that owned 2 of the 3 buildings. They said, well, we're donating them tonight at the city council for the tax write-off. And I said, well, if you're donating them, I'll give you $500 a piece for the 2 buildings. They said, no, we're getting more than that for the tax write-off. So I had to give them $5,000 per building, and then I bought the one in the middle also. And that was a major project. We had to put new foundations in on the river bottom. And after we got it tore apart, we found where it was 2 stories originally on 2 of the 3 buildings. So we put those back in to match what the old pictures were. And at that point, had enough real estate there, square footage to do a small hotel, and that worked out well. And then the 4th project is the Spring Grove Variety Building, and that turned out nice. Adding the windows to it really changed the space inside. So that's our 4th project there. So I have done projects like this. I'm pretty well self-funded for these. The Spring Grove building got pretty pricey, but that was able to do that without financing. I'm able to do the same thing on this project. Up to $1 million anyways, without borrowing any money. I have a rich girlfriend if I need to show them. I don't have to go to the bank.
You'll just have to mow the grass more.
Yeah.
That's another record. I'm not into censorship.
So I'm guessing MEDC is not something you're going after?
No.
You gonna be asking anything from the city?
No, the only challenge is, there are 4 garage doors there, and 3 of them are going away, so I don't know if that, there will be some parking load added to the area. I don't think that we still have the existing 7 rooms plus 20. We're not gonna rent 27 rooms out for a long, long time. So the parking isn't gonna change a lot, but that will probably add some parking where those doors were when we take those away. But yeah, we aren't looking for anything. With the Spring Grove Variety Building, the other projects that I've done, I have gone to the Historic District and asked for a token amount just because it's there, but it's never been anything extravagant. That money is there from Harold Engelhardt, so we might as well use it to.
A lot of the HDC stuff is matched too, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's not in the HDC.
No.
You're right, it's probably not, so I guess I'm walking
Yeah,
away.
because it's a block off.
One of the cities of Lowell's biggest concerns, we sell the property to a developer for potential development. However, the developer decides not to move forward. What's your plans on that, Greg, if it doesn't happen?
I'm all in. When I buy something, I'm committed. I would, there's nothing here that can stop me from at least doing the initial 2-story, the under promise portion of this. And I gave a 3-year timeline. It's probably going to take a year to really get permits and stuff going on this. a year to complete the project, maybe a little cushion, so it'll probably be done in 2, but I did state 3 in my application. If at 3 years I haven't developed it, I'll give it back to you. You can have it for free and sell it again.
The city of Lowell is looking for a tenant with the ability to complete the project and to have a sustainable operation. Please tell us how you will work with the city to assure that you can adequately fund this project and continue to have a sustainable operation.
Sure. This is just an expansion of an existing operation. When I did the Main Street Inn 12 years ago, I was new at the development business and didn't realize that restaurants and hotels are the highest failure rate of any business. So I had a credit line of a couple $100,000 at Huntington Bank, and I burned that up, and I had, I think, $50,000 on credit cards at 18%. I had a $30,000 line of credit at Home Depot, which I managed to run up to 40 before they cut me off. But I pretty much was tapped out getting it done. My dad loaned me, another family member loaned me 40. And I had about $600,000 in that project. We were open for a year and really killing it right out of the gate, just because there was such a demand here for that. And I'd go to banks and they'd go, oh yeah, this looks like a really good deal. And a month and a half later, they go, well, this isn't really a good project for us. And so finally, Terry Conley, a Lowell guy, was up at Chemical Bank, and they stayed there over Christmas at the Main Street Inn with a bunch of their friends. And I was cursing bankers about how they couldn't keep their promises. And he said, we'll loan you money. So after a year and a half, I finally was able to borrow $325, which cleaned up my debt on it. But because of the success of the plumbing business, and I'm pretty much debt-free on all my real estate, that I collect about $20,000 a month in rent from different places on Main Street. So that is what funds these projects for me now. So I'm pretty much able to do it out of pocket.
You ready? The city of Lowell is focusing on creating a sense of place for the downtown district by enhancing our natural asset and creating a walkable community. What does this mean to you, and how will you embrace this in your project? And have you done projects like this to enhance the area?
Yeah, like I say, this is just expanding the Main Street Inn, and that's what people love about staying here. We get people from the big cities. I've been down there enough when they were there. You know, they walk out with their iPad and they're showing their friends, look at this cute little town I'm staying with, and it's just, you know, downtown, small town USA, and people love it here. I mean, that's what you all worked really hard to build here, the historic district, preserving what we have. You look at Ada spending millions trying to recreate what we have, and they don't have the patina time that we do.
Any legal issues, extraditions, felonies, warrants, pending arrest? Planning on getting arrested?
Not at this time.
Secret.
After Todd buys drinks, who knows what's going to happen.
If you're selected by the city to purchase and redevelop the site, we'll be crafting a mutually agreed upon development agreement. Have you worked with those before, and will this be an issue for you?
Probably the closest I've come to development contracts and stuff is we did do a little bit with the downtown development when the Main Street Inn was going to be torn down. And I went in and said, hey, you guys are going to spend $100,000 to tear this down. Would you consider spending $30,000 to help save it? And they said, well, sorry, but you're a private investor and we can't help you with that. And I had someone that was a developer coaching me a little bit, and they said, you know, they're going to have to repair the seawall there anyways. So if you ask for money to help with that, you'd stand a better chance. So I went back in and said, the cost of repairing the seawall is $30,000, and this property pays $6,000 a year in property taxes. There were 3 buildings at $2,000 each. I said, if we can save these parcels, I said, you will have your money back in 5 years with property taxes. So it's really just a loan. But at that point, they saw the logic and that allowed that to happen. So I think we can work with the city to come to a mutually agreeable way to make this happen.
Well, not already. The city of Lowell is a public body dealing with the public body, transparency is the utmost concern. There is a strong possibility that the process moving forward will highly be scrutinized by the public. Is this a concern for you?
No, I have, after running for city council, when the mayor was being recalled, I've been put under a magnifying glass, and every skeleton in my closet has been exposed to the public already, so.
A different mayor.
A different.
Okay,
mayor.
thank you.
I didn't get the memo. They
Not
didn't
that
upload it.
nobody asked me questions.
Terrible to find out now.
Listen, I'll see you guys later. I'll be with Todd and Greg at tomorrow. Have fun in your meeting.
This one was sitting up there.
But no, I don't anticipate any
Thank
problem.
you.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't.
And number 11, parking.
Yep. Parking problem is a good problem. It's a sign of a vibrant downtown, and I've sat in on a couple of meetings where they say that with Uber and different things happening, that down the road, the parking requirements will be half of what they are now. I think it's great. We're spoiled here in Lowell because we're used to getting out of our car and walking into a store. You look at downtown Grand Rapids, you walk a quarter mile or half a mile to a restaurant or different things. So we're so fortunate here in Lowell to have such a vibrant downtown with so many good things going on, that concerts on Thursday night, other things, the festivals that Liz has. It's just, there's a lot going on here, but that creates hype and a vibe that people are looking for. And the walkable downtown, there's a lot of potential for more residences above buildings on Main Street. There will be, it's really easy, when we did the Ripple Restaurant building, the parking, which this is very similar to that location-wise, we had twice as much parking as we needed for the ordinance. So.
Spoiled is a good way to put it, I think. A really good way. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We got some time to eat now.
Yeah.
Let me pull the fork.
We can go get our drinks right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you guys making a decision tonight or not? At the end of the meeting, is that?
We are not.